Welcome to the No Script Show, where our hosts are as irregular as our episodes.
That's actually fucking true. It's actually fucking true.
Somewhat. Odin, you sound too tired, bro. Wake up.
Bro,
It's freaking afternoon right now. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Wake up.
I blame fucking daylight savings time, honestly. Which is
You got to sleep an hour later.
What is that? What is look, it's like
You got to sleep an hour later.
It's the most communist thing that they have here is daylight savings. I would love to know where the origin of daylight savings. I think it has to do with like farming or some shit. Like I don't know. Yeah, Jamie, look that up if you get a chance. Just pull that shit up for us.
Yeah, but it is because of the farming industry. Because back in the day, you didn't have electricity, so you can't exactly switch the lights on in your house and stuff. So you had to work with the seasons.
Ah, there we go. See, at least
we knew Martin's coming with the knowledge.
That's why he's here, bruh. Okay. So yeah, daylight savings time.
Daylight savings irritate the shit out of me, especially since I wouldn't work with international customers.
Yeah.
Mate. This whole thing, now we're 2 hours behind, then 1 hour behind, and this behind, and
yeah.
Fuck, stop being behind. Be now.
And the thing is, the thing is, since I don't watch like mainstream news articles or whatever, mainstream news anymore, or sort of TV that much, that's where you generally get your reminder that daylight savings time is coming. But since I don't watch that anymore, it's just like, meh, I don't get that reminder. The only reason I picked it up is that my phone has a setting on the clock, which somehow I ticked, that says automatically switch for daylight savings time, which it does.
All right, guys. You'll never guess whose idea it was. Daylight savings times was initially.
Mark.
Close.
Is he that old?
A chap named George Hudson in 1895, and then Germany and Austro-Hungary implemented it in 1916, right before Austro-Hungary went to shit.
Oof.
So old George was a British-born New Zealand astronomer. Okay.
Well, is it either the Germans or the New Zealanders that screw something up?
It's true. Z Germans.
Have you noticed? It's not the Germans, it's some Kiwi that stuffs it up completely.
The Germans are weird. They'll like stuff up completely and destroy the whole world. And then they'll do good things for a long time and then destroy the world again.
It's true.
And then bring us nice things like BMWs and Mercs and cool shit and then destroy the world again.
I'm convinced the Japanese and the Germans are of the same stock because they both do the same freaking thing. They like go all out, batshit crazy, and then they like do all these good things for decades, and then they just like freak out again completely. And they also both nations tend to be insanely obsessed about small details. Everything must be exactly perfect.
That is accurate. Actually, they are the same people. That's why they're natural allies.
There's times when you want things to be so well thought out and planned to the fucking T, but yeah, it's a bit anal for me. I don't have that kind of work ethic, to be honest.
There's other times where you don't want it to be so thought out. Like, I don't know, when you're butchering the world or, doing some sort of ethnic cleansing or, just committing horrific war crimes across China, those kind of things. That's generally when you don't want to be so precise and dedicated.
See, that's the problem.
But I mean, I don't know if you guys ever had the pleasure of working with the Japanese, but anally retentive gets a new meaning, dude. It's insane how pedantic they can get about things. It's just ridiculous how pedantic they can get about things, which is why a small island like Japan did what they've done in the past. It's just that absolute commitment and like laser focused on it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, what's that hardcore history saying? They're just like everyone else, except like jacked up to 11. Everything they do
Yeah.
is just like jacked up to 11. Just like,
And then the Germans looked at it and said, all this needs is expansionism and nationalism. Let's go.
yeah.
We're not
It's
going to
like
stick to an island. Let's go.
weird ass
Yeah, let's just
porn,
make
sure.
golden
Weird
island.
porn,
Yeah.
but jacked up to 11.
But yeah, now that you mentioned the porn, it's the weird thing about the Japanese, because the more their government tries to go traditionalist or conservative and then like try and squeeze the society into this mold, the more it just pops out everywhere on the sides, and it just gets weirder and weirder because they've got the weirdest porn. I don't know if you guys checked their car scene. You know, like they modified car scene. Every country's got like most countries got like a little modified car scene. The Japanese one is it's just insane. It's just ludicrously insane. Where they put like exhaust pipes that go 2 meters into the air and the stuff slammed down to the ground and LED lights everywhere. I mean, it's not talking like they do it like with cheap cars, but obviously you get guys that have money and they'll take like a 7-8 million rand Lamborghini and like just kit it out with LED lights and weird as exhaust pipes and wings, and it gets ridiculous.
It's not even shit. It's not even just about the expensive cars. It's about the cheap cars as well. I mean, you'll get a that has a fucking Daihatsu, but will spend the same amount of money than you would on a freaking Ferrari to put on some blue lights and weird shit and like diamond rims on.
Completely clap it out.
Yeah, but all the mod communities in the world are weird like that. You get like these weird niches with these guys.
I mean, at least Fast and Furious wasn't lying to us then. The Japanese have crazy things. Yeah.
Is Fast and the Furious still a thing? Because like it was really cool first movie, and then it was like, let's go into this weird sci-fi, not sci-fi scene.
I watched the first one, and then I saw the second one come out. I'm like, oh fuck, it's Rocky all over again.
Yes, you're right.
It is.
I'm a car guy. The first
that brand.
Yeah, I'm a car guy, and the first one was good, but when the second one came out, I'm like, nah, dude, the story was done. It was just stop. We don't need another Rocky franchise. We don't.
I know that Vin Diesel has a big investment in Fast and the Furious, but holy shit, did they milk that? I mean, how many movies? 7, 8, 9 movies? I don't know. I don't even know how many movies there are. He was like, I'm going to fucking milk this thing. It's like the ANC does to our taxpayers.
Oof.
It's like, yes. We're going to try you out like freaking wet cloths.
I'm actually Googling how many Fast and Furious movies are there.
Talking about, we're going to get even more taxed to death.
13.
Get a chance.
13.
13.
There are 13. There are 13 Fast and Furious movies. Let's see. Okay.
But these movie franchises really has gotten ridiculous the last while, because you had the Rocky movies, and that was ridiculous on its own. But then like Fast and the Furious, and you've got all this, Marvel or whatever, with the comic book movies that they make. It's the one after the other, after the other, after the other. It just, I don't know why. Is there so many people watching movies even?
Some franchises are good. Like, Back to the Future was only 3 movies, but that was like really good.
The thing is with the Marvel movies is that you're making movies out of literally decades and decades and decades of stories. So for me, it kind of almost justifies having that many films. There's so much story content, even if you just keep it to like
the story's
main.
Been written already. A lot of Fast and the Furious, they made the movie and they were like, oh fuck, let's write another story.
Yeah.
Oh shit. We need to write another story, and they're like, it's like they're losing ideas, so they do these weird things.
I don't even know. Okay, so the Fast saga. Let's see. Fast and Furious 2001. Too Fast, Too Furious 2003. That was actually my favorite. Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Yep, that's when they're racing in Tokyo. Fast and Furious. Not the Fast and the Furious, just Fast and Furious. Fast 5. Fast and Furious 6. Furious 7. The Fate of the Furious 2017. F9.
Dude, before you carry on, they brought out 2 Fast and the Furious movies in the same year.
Yes.
Wait, what?
But you know, Arden, you know what? This makes the whole death and taxes meme that we run on the server much more funnier. It just elevates to another level.
I think it justifies us actually making a death taxes justice movie now. Like, I really think so. There's
As long as it's not a franchise, it's all good, mate.
Then there's there's spin-off films that are planned. An untitled
Seriously?
female-led film, untitled Hobbs and Shaw sequel. Then there's Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw. That's with The Rock and Vin Diesel. Then there's Fast and Furious Spy Races on television. Short films, the turbocharged prelude for Fast and Furious. Good God. There's like...
They make a prelude for the movie. A movie prelude for another movie.
Never. It's like with comic books, but I'll probably get harangued to death for this. But the first couple of comic books that came out, like when was it, 60s, 70s, when Superman started coming up and all of that, that was still the comics. Everything after that's just fan fiction. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they even made a movie about Aquaman. How do you do that? It's the lamest cartoon character ever, lamer than Superman, and you go and make a movie about him. How do you do that? How?
What is Aquaman's skill? Or
I don't know, laying eggs.
Hero ability.
He's the king of Atlantis, bros.
Hancock, is that you?
He
was born with the ability to communicate with marine creatures.
Yeah, but remember he's Atlantean, so
because
he's basically Superman but underwater. He's basically Superman but underwater.
Superman was lame. I mean, honestly, come on, what does the guy do?
Well,
he looks
nothing
like
much.
The Little Mermaid's father.
In the actual comics, he's basically on par with Superman, except he's underwater. And that makes sense, considering our planet is like 70% water. Superman, I guess I get the lameness.
Doesn't make sense. What the fuck do we do underwater? We hardly do anything underwater. The world isn't under... Well, creatures are, but the world, doesn't affect us much, does it?
I mean, we still need the ocean for resources, so...
Oh, sure.
Yes,
wow, so they've created a superhero to eat the ocean resources. The fuck? It doesn't make sense, mate. He was born with the ability to communicate with marine creatures. What does he do?
Everybody rips that.
That's like ours, bro.
That's not his only ability. He's actually borderline. That's why I say the easiest way to describe him is that he's basically Superman, but in the water. And
like Atlantean.
Like Martin pointed out, yes, he's kind of Superman in himself is kind of boring, and that's the thing with Superman, that he's gone. That's why through the various iterations of comics, his power has scaled up and down so many times, because you get iterations of him like Superboy Prime, who can basically punch holes through the multiverse. As like, well, nobody wants to read about a character that strong, so they have to retcon and write them out.
Yeah, I enjoyed the original Superman, like with what was his name? Guy that ended up in the wheelchair.
Christopher
Reeves. That was good, but I was like, fucking, what was it, 6, 7 when I watched it? It was cool back then, but now it's just like, I don't know. I just can't. And they even made it. What's that TV show that also made that was a hugely popular? Smallville. It's like, yeah. I watched a couple of episodes and I'm like, yeah, no, Lex Luthor is obviously the victim in this story. Screw Superman. Clark Kent can go take a flying leap. Fuck this shit.
I'm the wrong person to talk to, because I don't watch any of this shit, man. I don't watch anything Marvel or DC, or I've just never been interested in it.
I think the problem is because I've never read the comic books, ever. I've never been into comic books. So the movies come out and it's just like, yeah, I don't get it. I just don't get it, I guess. It's one of those you had to be there kind of things, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems so big, like everyone's into it's like fucking sports teams. You either Marvel or DC.
Well, you know me, I guess the most nerdy on the call, and I was into these comics before they became fucking a franchise.
What did Stan Lee do? Marvel or DC Comics?
He did Marvel.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Because Stan Lee is a cool character. I like him, but like a personality. He's a cool character. It's almost like the guy from Playboy, the Hugh Hefner. I mean, he's a character on its own. He's like a fucking cultural icon. But other than that, I couldn't care less about the comic stuff.
When did Hugh Hefner die?
I don't know, but he died a happy man. Let's just put it that way.
Did
he lived his life? Don't worry. That guy lived his life. He should have died earlier, to be honest. He lived more life than most people.
Passed away September 27th, 2017. That was just the other day.
His son looks
so weird about it. Like 2017 was just the other day.
His son, if you look at young Hugh Hefner and you look at pictures of his son, that is 100% his son. That's for fucking sure.
The amount of money he's had, I'm sure he made sure it was his son before he signed him up for anything.
Yeah, that's definitely his son, bro.
It does. I'm looking at it right now. They look the same. If you look at the old pictures of him and the pictures of his son.
Yep. That's because you get those kids where it's like it's in doubt, where it's like, is this a kid? Is this a kid? Speaking of kids in doubt, how's old Prince Harry?
Yes. What the fuck is going on there? What the hell's going on there, mate?
Bro,
you're the Prince of England. You really couldn't. Okay, first of all, can I just?
He's a legitimate child, okay?
Well, aside from that, can I be the first one to be ignorant and say I didn't realize that Meghan Markle is supposedly multiracial or half black?
Well, obviously she is. You can see it a mile away.
Can you?
Well, I could.
We see color. We see color. Don't lie. You can also see color, Arden.
She just looks like a tanned white girl to me.
She does it first. She does it first. I don't know.
Like that hair is so straight, bro, and it's definitely her own hair. You can see it's her own hair.
She could be Obama's kid. Obama is he's multiracial or whatever. You can see on the facial structure, the nose, the eyes. Hair, never, ever judge a woman by her hair, dude. You're just gonna end up in Schitt's Creek.
She looks like a tanned white girl to me. Maybe it's because I live in Florida. There's a lot of very tanned Hispanic and white girls. So she could easily pass for like a very tanned Hispanic or white girl.
Dude, you mentioned you're from Florida and the tan people. You know that scene from that old lady that was in Something About Mary? The one that's always tanning. Yeah, that's the picture I got in my mind of Florida and all these.
She looks like she's leather.
Yes.
But on this note, what the hell happened there? I've just been seeing the memes, and I've seen some funny memes about this. But I never watched the interview. I just got the gist of it from memes because you just get your news from memes anyway.
Okay, well, apparently the royal they did a tell-all interview about how the royal family was always so mean to first of all, I love how in the interview she's like, can you imagine how much I had to give up my acting career to go be a princess? I'm like, really? You gave up your acting career on a third rate? You're not even the main star on a third-rate TV show to become the princess of one of the only remaining royal families in some form of power in the world. And you don't see how that's an upward career move. You don't see that.
I mean, it's one of the most influential, most powerful families on the globe. I mean, and I didn't even know she was an actress. Whatever did she play in that was
she was in Suits.
TV on for?
Yeah,
she was in Suits, and it was pretty good. I liked Suits.
Never watched this.
A really good show, but that's the only thing I've ever seen her act in.
Well,
it's not it's not like she's been on anything huge
Come on, she's not
ever.
Danny DeVito levels of fame, so
Yeah. So she
Just a
left
tad
that,
taller.
and they did this whole interview about how the royal family was always stacked against her and so mean to her and all that crap. And
It's because they got cut out. They got their
I'm
money
sorry.
cut off. So
So
now
she's probably too young to remember Diana, is she?
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
one
the
of the
royal
meme
family
over
was
properly.
mean.
that's one of the memes I saw. One of the memes was Meghan. Too bad to hear about Meghan's car accident next week.
Yeah. It's like the other meme I also saw, where they said, yeah, if your girl insists that you treat her like a princess, and just a photo of the 740 BMW in the tunnel that Diana was in. She's like just below the quotation. I'm like, yeah, that's about accurate.
That's why I'm like, it's the same thing when the presidents are like, no president has ever been treated so badly. I'm like, really? You heard of JFK, Abe Lincoln? Ever heard of those guys?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Oh, I know you-
her side is apparently they were mean to her and all that, and and her definition of they were mean to her is like she's like, oh, Harry said I had to curtsy before the Queen. I thought that was only something you did when the cameras were watching, not in person. I'm like, really? Curtsying before the Queen of England, like everyone else on the planet Earth?
You married into one of the royal families of a country that has the highest level of they had finishing schools was a thing back in the day, where you literally send your girls to a specific school to teach them the etiquette of operating in polite society. What the hell did she expect?
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly. Most of her claims around they were mean to me is that, and on the countervailing side, she doesn't have a great relationship with her dad, which is always a red flag, apparently.
Yeah. Yep.
Which, granted,
We know that's a red flag generally.
Mm-hmm.
Those are always the easiest chicks to get with, man.
Thank you for that extra touch of class.
We know that.
Granted, her dad could be a piece of shit. We don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of a red flag. And apparently the people that do know her and people that have worked with her are like, yeah, she's a piece of human garbage. She is like a classic example of narcissistic personality disorder, apparently.
But
that's
you know what it is, Arden? It's the same as that you had in the 60s and 70s in America. Got these rich white liberals that take up a cause. And it's usually and in the 60s and 70s it was the whole segregation and all of that. They pick a minority cause, and then they go all out in it, and they flap their gums all over the show because they know they've got nothing to lose. If everything goes south, they just crawl back to their cozy little lifestyle with their family money and all of that. They've got no skin in the game whatsoever. And that's exactly what Meghan Markle is. They can tout her multiracialism around as much as they like, but she's essentially just a white liberal, speaking about things that she knows nothing about, and she's got absolutely no skin in the game. Just by man, and you guys know side note, you know what's a bigger red flag than the daddy issues? She married a ginger. Let's just stop there.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
but
even
it's
being woke. It's the more attractive of the two brothers, but yeah.
Being woke is got some value, man. So we see it so many people. It's a career to be woke.
It is a career.
A very good career at that as well.
I just like that the one on the one side we've got the royal family. They're like she's like they're super racist and mean. And on the other side, we've got all these people that have worked with her in Hollywood and family friends. You'd think that the people you worked with and the family friends and all that shit are the people who would come out on your side. But they've come out against her. They've come out and said, no, she's a piece of garbage. Like, she's like straight up narcissistic personality disorder piece of garbage. Do not believe what she's saying. So I'm like, something doesn't fit here, guys.
She fits very well into that sphere of Oprah Winfrey and The View, and those white liberal, they're rich, so money is not a problem. They're already not living in the average person's world at all. So they can sit there on the little throne and pontificate and bring up all these issues and stuff, and they've got nothing to lose. I mean, they've got money for years. I mean, I'm pretty sure Meghan Markle can stop doing anything that pays right now and still live a very comfortable lifestyle all the way up until her death. She's got
Plus
nothing to lose whatsoever.
Yeah,
None.
but they
Same with
also
Oprah.
they look. I think you actually give a freaking good point there. It's like you have these two people there, actually the three people in the freaking interview, with their combined wealth, can probably buy freaking Australia, talking about how
No
fucking
one wants
oppressed they are.
Australia. But I mean, it's like I saw an interview old Trevor Noah did with Oprah, and he asked her what's the normal thing, what's the one like normal person thing that you do, and she's like, oh no, I take my own avocados with me when I go anywhere because they're expensive or hard to find or whatever. And she's like, no, and I bought my own avocado orchard. I'm like, normal people don't have an avocado orchard, you dumb twat. I mean, that's not normal. Firstly, being able to afford to take your own avocados wherever you go already puts you in a different class. Because if you want to get on like British Airways flight 236 or whatever, and you have a bunch of avos in your bag in your carry-on luggage, they're going to confiscate that shit. They're not letting you on the plane with that. Okay, so just being able to take that across borders already puts you in a different class of person. Given that you're doing it on your own private frickin' plane, and the others come from your own private orchard. I mean, I don't know how many people know what it takes to run an avo orchard, but avos are damn demanding trees, especially if you grow them outside of their comfort zone, like in South America or stuff like that, in tropical areas. Avos is a bloody pain in the arse to get to carry well, to have good yields the whole time. So it's not a cheap freaking setup. And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm like, you have no idea what real life is for the average person in the world, do you?
Yeah,
no idea
totally
whatsoever.
removed.
Either
Totally
that,
fucking
or she's
removed.
got severe brain damage from being bashed around in her youth, which is also possible because, I mean, look at boxers and professional fighters. They get screwed up completely in old age because of all the knocks they take to the head. It's one or the other. Either you're a shit human being or you've got brain damage. Either way, why should we listen to you?
I mean, she did start out pretty badly in life, Oprah, but that was so long ago. I don't think she can actually remember. Like, she has no cognizance of.
Let's be honest. There's no way she can be that ignorant.
Well,
maybe being that rich for that.
There is no way.
Maybe being rich for that long, bro. It's just like you said.
I think it's so long ago, and it got so warped in her mind and she got so caught up in all the money. And you see this happening to a lot of people that get insanely, stupidly rich. They float into their own little bubble of reality, and that's where they live. And nothing else gets through to them. They're just on their freaking own. This messed up reality that they created for themselves, where they, I mean, like Meghan Markle saying she's oppressed. Really? You're sitting on Oprah, talking to Oprah, being married to one of the princes of the British royal family, and you are oppressed. Okay,
yeah.
you go phone the ladies in Iraq or Iran and tell them they should stop moaning about having to wear a hijab and not learning how to read or write, because they obviously don't understand what oppression is.
Yeah, mate. It's so. I don't even know what to say anymore, man. I just haven't been interested in this shit lately.
Also, wasn't Harry the Oak in a Nazi costume a while ago? I remember that.
But he's like Trudeau. They can blackface so many times it's not funny and nothing will happen because I don't know. Apparently,
because when they speak, they say other things. But yeah, then it's fine.
I mean, can you imagine if anyone got, let's say, Trump or I don't know, pick a celebrity that's not really left leaning or not vocal left-leaning, if they photo surfaced of them doing blackface at multiple parties over multiple years, like with Trudeau, they would get cancelled so quickly it would make your head
Oh
spin.
yeah, mate.
Yeah.
100%.
But yet Trudeau gets re-elected. I
Remember,
don't know why. Canadians
because-
deserve whatever they get.
It's because he's Captain Handsome, and he does the work, guys. He uses the lingo. He uses the lingo of the new ruling woke elite class.
What did he say in that one speech he gave when I think someone said mankind, and he's like, no, and stopped her right there. He was like, no, it's humankind.
Oh yeah, people kind or whatever. I'm just like, good
People,
God. Man.
that annoys me when they start messing around with language, because mankind it's not a gender specific term. It's not used like that, you absolute morons. Did you not pay attention? And this is coming from countries where English is the first language.
Yeah.
How the hell
Do they not
What I'm saying,
understand that mankind in that context doesn't mean an actual man?
Man, exactly. It's not a gender specific term. I mean, and what makes it worse is Canada is an ex-French colony, and in France, in French, everything is gendered, as in everything is gendered. Trees are gendered, every term you can think of inanimate objects, everything is gendered. The same in German. So how can that? I mean, that's the background that you come from. How can you be so freaking ignorant to the nuances of the language? Just stop it. I mean, if the people, if they don't have the cognitive ability or the education to grasp it, then teach them. Don't go and screw up a language that took how many hundreds of years to get to where it is now, just to fit a bunch of half-educated nitwits running about the streets screaming about who knows what. It's just, I don't understand it. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I also freaking don't understand it, mate. Like, who is getting upset by someone saying mankind instead of humankind? Humankind isn't a word.
It's like that one senator that opened. I can't remember if it was the Senate or the House, that opened with a prayer, and then at the end he said like Amen and all women. We're like,
Yes.
Yes.
dude, Amen is not an English word in the first place. There's got absolutely nothing to do with gender. You're drawing false conclusions here. You're embarrassing yourself now. Please stop it.
Yeah, that
Because
is.
didn't the House pass something that they have to just do use gender neutral terms as
Yeah.
well? Like
Yeah.
recently?
Yeah, they did it. Australia did it. New Zealand obviously did it because Mrs. Horseface just has to be in with the cool kids.
You know what it's like? And it
This
reminds
is-
me of this yesterday because I was playing Kings yesterday. The drinking game. You know when someone makes a rule
Oh,
and then everyone has
fuck.
to abide by the rule. And
Yes.
someone made the rule, if ever you say I or ack, you have to drink. And of course that's very difficult to do. It would be really funny if Congress had tequila bottles in front of everyone, and anytime someone said like man or woman or
Oh,
a gender term,
bruh, that would be.
and then everyone's like points at them, you drink.
But you guys,
Bruh,
with these
that'd be
all
amazing.
woke, all the woke stuff that they're bringing into the parliaments around the world. The funniest thing was in Australia, when I think it was one of the equivalent to the Green Party or the Libertarian Party or whatever, put a thing in motion that you're not allowed to say mate in the
Gotta be
parliament
fucking
building.
kidding me. You can't say
You're not allowed
mate.
to say mate. And they passed it as a law. You're not allowed to say mate in, because it's a word of the patriarchy, what the fuck ever it was. But it lasted a week. It literally lasted a week, and then the prisoners overtook the wardens and just said, no, mate's back on the table. Because, I mean, can you imagine being in Australia and not being able to say mate? It's just ridiculous. So every now and again, there's like a glimmer of hope that, okay, maybe they'll come to their senses, and then it just slowly fades away. when they come up with the next stupid thing.
In Congress. Oh, dude, that is so. I just looked up old Auntie Arden, and she is 100% Mrs. Horseface. Body's kind of
Yeah.
banging though.
But what I don't understand, and I know that on the one WhatsApp group, the guys keep on saying, yeah, but let the New Zealanders learn their lesson. But what pisses me off about Arden and her whole entourage is New Zealand came back from the brink. They were on the brink of bankruptcy. They were on the brink of having no choice but to join back in with Australia, because the way they set up, they've got an open thing. Anytime they feel they can't handle their own country more, they can just join Australia again, and they'll become like a province of Australia.
Yeah.
They were on the brink of that in the late 80s, early 90s. They were heads width away from just totally failing completely, and they managed to turn that around to where they were in the early 2000s. Okay, which it is in a phenomenal recovery. I don't think I've seen that, not that I can recall or remember, in modern times of any other country except maybe Germany after World War II. It is an absolutely astonishing recovery. And now they let the pendulum swing just that little bit too far. And everybody's fawning over old Horseface. But what has she done? Absolutely nothing. She did nothing right up until the coronavirus, when she just locked down, killing industries and the economy left, right, and center. And then he just dished out government grants and checks, just dished out money left, right, and center. And everybody's like, oh, she's such a good leader. But she's done nothing. Man, they re-elected her. Now she's really... Because she was elected she needed the support of some of the other smaller parties to actually become prime minister. So she didn't outright win the first election, but the second one she won by a landslide. So she's got the, it's like the line, same they did with Cyril. Oh no, Cyril just needs the support, then he'll be able to do things. Now she's doing things, but what she's doing is mandating that a certain amount of positions in all elected government spheres, if it's municipal or county or national or whatever, has to be occupied by Maoris, by native Maori citizens of New Zealand. So she's now making unelectable seats. But the thing is, the percentage of seats that she is saying that which the law says has to be allocated to Maori citizens, is in most cases less than the amount of Maori citizens that are currently being elected into these seats, whether it's municipal or provincial or whatever. So she's actually taking their representation down, but now it's not elected. Now they're chosen. So now you can put people in positions of power to control people, but the people didn't vote for them. And she's doing stuff like that.
That's a dangerous road. Isn't she the same one that banned the semi-automatic rifles as well after that one mass shooting in their history?
Yeah, in Christchurch, the only proper mass shooting, and but that's not new to New Zealand, because they did it in I think 97 or 98. One guy, I shit you not, one guy came home early from work, walked in on his wife and her lover, and decided to cap both of them and then to blow his own brains out. And they made it next to impossible to get handgun licenses in New Zealand. It's extremely difficult. It makes our setup here in South Africa look like a Disney Children's Channel fucking special. But because of one incident. But that's because of the governance system, because the citizens has got no protection from the government. They don't have a constitution that they can go to the Constitutional Court and say, okay, but our government's overstepping their bounds here, which is the same in England. If the House of Representatives decides they're going to do something, they can just do it, whatever it is. There's nothing protecting the citizens from their own government. And you get everybody's like, oh yeah, but New Zealand, the low crime rates and stuff. But if you go look at the stats, ever since they had the handgun ban back in the late 90s, or effective where they made it very difficult to get handguns, their gun crime started to creep upwards. And even after banning the assault rifles, and making it in the registry and stuff that they brought in, their violent crime rates have gone up again. And you can see it, especially even if, like, we grew up in South Africa, we've seen this happen over the years.
Yeah.
And they're making all the wrong moves. And I get so pissed off because, I mean, like, New Zealand is the one of the few outs for South Africans, for most South Africans, where you can say, okay, cool, that's somewhere that I can escape to, possibly. And now they're making the same freaking mistakes, step by step by step. And it's just infuriating. It really is.
Unless it's not a mistake and it's on purpose.
Yeah, that's the way I always see it. They're not making a mistake. They're doing it on purpose.
They know they're running their shit into the ground. Meanwhile, I'm here on the opposite end of the scale. I'm pretty sure I could go to a gun shop on Monday and buy a gun.
Yeah, I think you only have, like, depending on what weapon it is, you'll have a maximum of a 2 or 3 day waiting period.
Yeah.
For handguns and semi-automatic rifles. Like, bolt actions and stuff is, go and get it and walk out.
Yeah. That's why they say
Talking
Florida
about
is PvP server for everyone.
Seeing that you brought up the topic, our US correspondent, you checked that the bill the House passed.
Which one?
For the semi-automatic rifles, high-capacity magazines, background checks, all of that. I don't think it will make it through the Senate.
I haven't seen. But give us more information about it, because I haven't heard it. Like I said, I've been, like, staying away from politics for the last couple of months, so I actually know nothing that's going on. But yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I remember it's like the super. The only reason I remember it is because I follow. There's this chick on Instagram. Her name is Alex Zedra. She plays Mara on Call of Duty, but you can look her up. Hold on, Alex Zedra. I'm gonna post a link here so that Ron can get his eyeballs worth. And she was posting about it as well. Yeah, so it's basically like it is like the beginning of Bernie's dream gun control for America. Basically, if I had to sum it up.
Oh my word!
But but it's an absolutely ridiculous bill but it's passed the House.
Yeah, but we would know it would pass the House. It'll always pass the House because the Democrats are, like, freaking.
Yeah.
I don't even know what in the House. So the thing is, these things, every time this happens, it then ends up going to their constitutional or high courts and getting overturned anyway if something gets passed through. But
what's interesting to me is I've seen a couple of states now have given up. They've taken away the need for concealed carry permits. I think a couple of states have done it now, and those same states also, like, starting to buck the federal gun control laws, because the new one that the House passed is if you are flagged on the national background check, then the FBI has to do a background check on you. And if you're in a state like New York or California or Vermont or something like that, you can get flagged for freaking anything. Because especially Washington, New York, and California, they're like the big metropolitan areas are like 2 steps away from a social credit system in any case. They're like this close.
Yeah.
So I mean, then you can get flagged for anything. So then the FBI has to check 50 or 60% of all the background checks for everybody that wants firearms. It's ridiculous. There's no way to do it properly in any case. And then they want to ban the assault-style rifles, whatever that means, and high-capacity magazines, because you must know, once the magazine is empty, you can't just put another full one in. That's not possible at all. But it's just it's just this stupid push by the Democrats for the gun control laws. But what's worrying for me more than them bringing this to the House is that you get a bunch of states, and especially southern states, that are backing the federal gun control laws. So it just widens that proverbial rift. So, I mean, it's just widening this rift, along with the big media corporations that just it's like they're hell bent on splitting the country into two. It's almost like they want another civil war.
Yeah, except this time it's likely it'll go a very different way, because what people forget about the Civil War is that, I mean, there's this trope that the South had better generals. I don't think so. I think the North probably they had better generals in terms of in battlefield tactics, but general strategy, I think the North had the advantage of being industrialized. You're fighting against a largely industrialized nation. It was only a matter of time that the South was going to lose. This time, both regions are at the same level of technological advancement, except now you have families in the South that have 5 or 6 kids. All their kids, boys and girls, can use weapons proficiently. They're equally industrialized. You've got companies that are leaving blue states like California and New York, coming to states like Texas and Florida. And you've got the population of your blue states where the guys are more interested in drinking soy lattes than knowing how to load a gun. So how do you think that's going to go for you, North? How do you think that's going to go? Not to mention that many of the northern states' economies are now post-COVID in absolute tatters. Places like, Kristi Noem in South Dakota and Ron DeSantis here in Florida, who their approach to COVID was essentially, listen, you are free Americans. We can only do so much to you that doesn't infringe on your rights. So what we're going to do is we're going to protect the nursing homes. If you're in a store, wear a mask. Beyond that, wash your hands. You're on your own. You make your own decisions, which is how it's supposed to work with adults and the U.S. Constitution. And now the economies of South Dakota has a 3% unemployment rate. 3%. The national unemployment rate is skyrocketing now here. It's like 6-8%. Florida is also like low single digits. I think it's under 4%. Economy is just fine. California has inconceivable amounts of debt now that they have to settle. Way too high unemployment, and they're like, well, good luck dealing with that, guys. Good luck. But they don't have to deal with it, guys, because you know why? In the stimulus package, they passed a bunch of payments to blue states that completely blew their fucking budget out. And now they're just going to get that paid off through the stimulus package. Hooray. Which means states like Georgia, Texas, Florida, who didn't blow out their budgets, are now paying the credit card bill for California and for Washington and for New York and New Jersey. You could see why people in the South are a little bit angry.
Yes, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I don't know. It's gonna implode at some point. There's gonna be something that happens. I mean, history has shown us that that's what happens. We just don't know if it's gonna be 5 years, 10 years, or 50 years. That's the thing.
But the South will rise again.
Yeah. Like the trajectory isn't changing. Like Martin pointed out, the rift is growing. The trajectory is not changing. Like I said, when I arrived here and I got to New York, it was worlds different to when I flew into places like Georgia and here in Florida. It's like 2 different countries. You guys speak the same language, have the same accents, sort of, but these are not the same
different countries. No, it's different countries. But I mean, the other problem is what the Democrats is doing, and they've ramped it up again under Biden, is they are pipelining immigrants into the country from South America. And yes, it's voters, because that's why I presume that's why they're doing it. It's voters. It's easy voters. But they're not going to be loyal in a difficult situation. I mean, those people came for a better life. So if someone else comes along and offers them a better setup, they're gonna jump the fence. But when you see that, go look at California and New York, the amount of immigrants there is staggering. It is absolutely insane. But it's people that come there for a better way of life. So if the Democrats let it fall behind too much and let it degrade too much, at some point those people are just going to say, okay, no, screw this, we're going to where it's actually working properly, and then they lose all that clout. But all that happens is you've introduced this massive amounts of people into your country that now has to be absorbed, and they need to get jobs and housing and all of that. It just screws it up so much more. As I saw earlier, some of on the border with Mexico, the holding facilities is 700% over capacity with underage children. Just since Biden's taken office and walked back a lot of Trump's executive orders, 700% over capacity.
Guys,
it's an overflow facilities.
Yes, remember, it's overflow facilities.
Overflow facilities.
It's not cages. It's overflow facilities. That's the difference.
What's really bad is, the Democrats signaled, or the Biden administration signaled, oh no, this nonsense of you have to come into the country legally is out the door now. You can just come into America. The people are streaming out of South America into the States, and then they're getting stopped at the border and they're getting held in these overflow facilities. But can you imagine what holding cells look like at 700% of capacity? We're talking about Myanmar levels of like if you go to play like Myanmar and Cambodia, same place, and South Vietnam and those places, that level of crowding in their prisons, it is atrocious living conditions. It really is. It's bad. It's really bad. And
overcrowding is always going to create that.
Yeah.
Anywhere that's going to be overcrowded is going to create that. This is the same reason why California is such a shithole, because there's so many people that they've brought in, immigrants that they've brought in. There's no place for them to sleep. They don't have jobs. So half the freaking state is full of guys sleeping in tents on the side of the road.
Yeah, I was listening to.
Same's going to happen in prison systems or holding systems and all that. If there's too much, it's just going to get out of hand, and there's no money.
So I was listening to a Joe Rogan episode that he did just after moving to Houston, and he says, like, just before he left California, you would drive down the street and you turn a corner and there would be like 15 or 20 RVs or mobile homes parked next to the side of the road. These people are building small villages in California. It's all people that lost their jobs, lost their houses and shit, and they're just living on the streets. And they're building like little villages within LA and those places. That because they can't afford the housing, they've got no other choice. No other choice whatsoever.
Oh, that's true. That's why you see, like, here in the South, like on the especially on the border counties, the border provinces of like Florida, and like you'll see signs there that says "Welcome to Texas" or "Welcome to Florida or Georgia," and it says, "Please leave your politics back in California or New York." Because so many people are just they're like, that sign is so common now. It's just like, please leave your politics back, because they're like, fine, you can come here, but do not bring your bullshit that ruined your state here.
Yeah, if your politics was so good there, why didn't you stay there?
Rogan actually made the comment, and he says, like, because the guest he had was like, yeah, but now the people come here and then they vote the way they did in the state that they were. Rogan's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to talk to the people that live around me, find out how they vote, and I'm just going to go with them, because whatever they're doing is working. Because apparently he likes it. He likes the whole Texan vibe and Houston very much. So he's like, I'll vote differently. I don't care. Just keep it the way it is now. People are friendly. People have jobs. There's good barbecue. Don't fuck this up. Just don't fuck this up.
Yeah, I will note that people here are way friendlier than like up in Vermont and New York. It's like when I'm walking around here, people be like, "How's it?" and just like sit around, talk to you.
South Africans there saying, "How's it?"
Okay.
Dude, I forget so often when I'm talking to guys in the US or wherever, and we'll get on like a conference call. And I'm like, "How's it?"
Yeah.
These guys are like, what? Sorry, what?
Yeah, I get that a lot. Like you say, yeah, like it's way friendlier here. People walking around at like 1 a.m. Shit. By the way, if you just brought like 50% of the criminals in Joburg or Pretoria here, they would ransack this place, because this is such a high trust society. Like like I said, there's these little electric scooter things that you can hire, called spins, and you've got like on an app that you scan to move around, discussing.
Yeah,
on
they
it.
have that in Singapore as well. Yeah, you can like just stay on the side of the road and you just scan it with your phone and you get on it, and wherever you stop off, you leave it there.
Yeah.
And in Netherlands, they have that for cars as well, like electric cars. You can just get into a car and scan it and drive.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm like, there's no way
that'll
this
get
could fly.
nicked here.
I'm
That'll
like,
never fly. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Never.
like, how
Never.
long would this last back home? I'm betting like a week, maybe. A week.
Yeah, they steal the backup batteries out of the cell phone towers. So, I mean, that's not going to last.
Shit.
Mate, like I've sorted out myself now so that I always have power if we have load shedding. But now, with them stealing these batteries, the towers close to us, MTN told us they're not replacing the batteries anymore. So if there's load shedding, you have no cell phone service.
Fucking
Vodacom did the same in
brilliant.
my area. I mean, what's worse is they put the schedule out about when the power is going to be off. So in the area that I stay, if there's load shedding, you can go and check somewhere in the area, cell phone towers batteries got stolen or power cables got stolen, because they know the power is going to be off from 5 till 8 or whatever. So they get a schedule of when they can go and steal the cables. It just makes their job easier.
Yeah.
It's freaking ridiculous.
I must say, I live a lot happier now that I've got an inverter and batteries. I can run pretty much for 15 hours with no electricity.
Fuck.
So it is life changing. I can tell you that.
It's just so freaking expensive to do here. It is really pricey to do that setup here. It's not a cheap
my
endeavor.
setup cost. Look, I can't like boil a kettle or shit like that, but I can work on my PC. I can game. I can watch TV. I can have my sound system on. I can have my fan running. I can have a few lights running, and it cost me $16,000.
Yes.
It is worth it. It is so worth
That's
it.
a lot of money to most people, dude.
That's like what?
Yeah,
One
but
and a
people will
half
spend that.
thousand
People
dollars.
will spend that on a console, a gaming console, that they get enjoyment out of. But you get zero enjoyment when you have no electricity. You can buy it. It's worth it. You always
I
have
must
electricity. You have no problem.
I must also do the setup for the backup for the batteries and the solar panels and stuff, because a lot of our stuff is we're already running gas stove, so that because we sit without power often in the area because of cable theft and so on. And we already got a gas stove and you got all the battery lights and stuff. But yeah, I must do that. But like I said, 16K is a fair amount of money to drop for, I'd say 90% of South Africans. It's a fair amount of
Look,
money.
I don't have solar panels. So my stuff just charges when the power's on. So if I did solar panels, it's going to be even more expensive. But for the most part, dude, it's the best money I ever spent. And I did that early last year. And you can always do whatever you want. You've always got internet. You always got your PC. You always have your TV. You have lights. It's just, load shedding gets you fucking nervous when you see that schedule and you're like, oh fuck, I'm going to be out. Or, I'm telling you, it gives people mental issues and mental anxiety. I don't get that anymore. Like, it just doesn't matter. Sometimes I don't even know that the power's gone off. I'm busy working. The power goes off. I carry on working and I feel like a cup of coffee and I go to the kitchen to boil the kettle and realize I can't boil the kettle. That's when I realize I have no power.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're reliant on your PC and all of that. Like, I don't use my PC often. We're out on the sticks. So if the power's off, the power's off. So what? You can't watch TV. It's not a problem. Like I said, gas stove. If I really need to do something or it's off for a long time and you need to get the fridges going, just start the generator and run that till the power comes back on. But like I said, we're out in the freaking sticks, so the neighbors are not going to complain about the generator running or anything like that. So I mean, if I weigh it up, 16,000 rand buys a lot of petrol. Well, for now it does in any case. So you can get a ways with 16,000 rands worth of fuel in your generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Over time, this just turns out to be a lot cheaper, mate. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree over time. But it's one of those things where you need a large amount of capital at once to expend on it to do it.
Sure,
it's not
sure.
like I said, the generator you buy $100 now, $100 whenever you need it. Small amounts over time. To get that amount of cash at one shot to dump in there, because the other guy that I do work with, he set up his plots completely off grid, and he had to drop 120,000 rand to get it done.
Holy
and then still,
shit.
if he does anything that pulls amps, welders and stuff like that, he still has to start the generator or use municipal power. And that's after spending 120,000 rand to get the plot off grid. But that's no borehole and all of those things. So it's freaking expensive. In the long term, it pays off, but you do need that initial amount of money to put in to get it going.
Shit.
Yeah, I guess so. All I'm saying is I don't have to worry anymore. It's just like I don't even notice that it goes off because it auto switches to battery power when the power goes out. And
Yeah,
like I
just
say, I
so
don't
that-
even notice it. I'm just working and power can be off and I'm still working or I'm watching TV or whatever.
Yeah, I'm cannot relate, but
Yeah, well, yeah, you live
Arden,
in a little bit more advanced society
Is it?
than we
I
do.
wanted to ask: is the temperatures looking better there in Texas and your neck of the woods after the big freeze?
yeah, temperatures are looking way better. Let's see. Like I said, this morning it's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 16 degrees Celsius. This morning, Texas, I believe, is up again. They're pretty much back up at full capacity.
Because that was the weirdest thing. You open up, check the news, and it's like 4 to 6 feet of snow in Texas. Like, okay, it's the end of the
73
world.
degrees. Yeah.
It's the end of the world. The sky is going to fall. We're all going to die. Hell has frozen over, literally.
I mean, it's a comment on their society that they're freaking out over 1 week of power loss, but people don't realize it was power loss in a very bad. Like if it was power loss without the temperature drop, that's fine. But people were literally fucking freezing to death in their houses, and again, people forget one of the reasons that freeze happens is because the government or the federal government artificially pumped up or artificially messed with the price of wind power, thus causing them to make lots of wind power things. The problem is
Froze
wind
over.
bills don't work when they freeze over. So
Especially not those silly Holland windmill type wind generators that they insist on using, and that is like sort of tech related. But there's a type of wind generator. It's a horizontal design that works a lot better than those old windmill type wind generators. But for some reason, I don't know what the reasons are, but they're just not getting built. Because I worked on a project about 10 years ago where we did the ground surveys for guys that wanted to put up 2 of these wind generators there in the Northern Cape. They're massive things, massive things. But the 2 of them would have generated the same amount of electricity than a power station, normal coal-fired power station would generate out there where they were in the Northern Cape. So in a month's time, it would generate the same amount of electricity that a coal fire could generate. But the government just squashes it the whole time, and regulations and stuff like that. But these are massive windmills, like I said, horizontal blades, much better design, but I'm not seeing any of that built anywhere. You just see this silly, it's either the windmill type ones or those silly, that looks like a corkscrew, the helical ones that they put up for domestic applications. And both
Is it
of
a
those
cost
are
thing?
so...
What's the cost difference? Or
Look, the nice thing about the horizontal type one is it's scalable. You can build a small one that you can put on top of your roof of your house, or you can build a massive one that can generate gigawatts of electricity. But I can't find a reason why they're not being built. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Maybe it's because they're efficient. Maybe people don't want dependable electricity.
well, governments don't want anything
from
that's efficient because they become useless if they make things efficient. So
that is very
that could
true.
be one reason.
Very, very true.
ironically, what half saved Texas was some of their nuclear power. A couple of their nuclear stations stayed online.
Everybody should go nuclear.
Yeah, dude. Like,
I've always been an advocate for nuclear. I mean, it's freaking clean as long as you do it right. It's freaking clean. It's powerful. It's
yeah, thorium salt generators.
I saw someone did a little like thought experiment where you run the numbers. If let's say you take a city like London, if they committed to going full nuclear, but like proper nuclear, your power grid's powered by nuclear power stations, and you spend a bit of money and time to develop smaller nuclear reactors to run your locomotives for long distance trains. The environmental benefit of that, I think London would, if you fully go nuclear on all your electricity generations, so your trains run on nuclear energy, your power grid, everybody drives electric cars because you can actually charge the freaking things, all of that, and you put as much as possible on rail, you can actually, London itself can bring its carbon footprint down so low, the rest of England doesn't have to bother with any green energy or any type of carbon reduction whatsoever. You just run it, just properly put some effort and energy into going nuclear, because then you can cut out carbon-based fuels near completely. If you just put
it's not just that. Normal green energy takes so much space. I mean, that's the other thing. It's this fairy tale we live in that we're gonna have freaking solar farms. But those solar farms, the size of them and the actual amount of power that they give us is nothing compared to what you're going to get from nuclear for the same size.
And I'm not against green energy to some degree. I'm like, yeah, sure, we can have a couple of wind or solar things here, but let's not kid ourselves about what the actual output is here, guys. Like, let's not kid ourselves here.
Now, and your storage is another issue, because either you have to put like the molten salt batteries, which are big and relatively dangerous because you're working with molten freaking salt, or you go iron core batteries, which is low environmental impact, but those batteries are huge. I mean, to run the average household, an iron core battery has to be the size of an SUV that you have to park somewhere in your yard just for a battery.
It just doesn't make sense.
It's not feasible. It's fine in rural areas like where I stay. I can put up a couple of solar panels on the roof, and I can build a wind generator, and I've got the space to stash all this stuff. But if you're living in an apartment building, or you're living in a townhouse somewhere in suburbia, you don't have the space for those kinds of things, and you probably won't get past body corporate in any case, because it's going to be unsightly, or there's going to be some superficial reason why you won't be allowed to do it in any case.
And Eskom want to tax us now if we use any green energy. So
yes, thank you, DA, because they started with that nonsense.
Fuck's sakes.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Yeah, because it was Mr. Winde that said no, but if people have got solar panels on or generators and stuff, it must be registered with the municipality, and in able to register it, it must be installed by a certified person to install it, and all of this. But it's a setup. So first you must just register it, but you can see it's a setup for it being taxed. It's clear as day. And then, as with all the other bad ideas that DA gets, as soon as they get them, the ANC says, okay, we'll adopt that. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I'm old enough, because I'm older than 3 years old, guys. I'm old enough to remember 3 or 4 years ago when a brilliant young political analyst from the IRR suggested that somebody named Alan Winde should be the next president of South Africa because he's so great. I don't know this guy's name. I think it's something memorious. I don't know, but he could not disengage his lips from Alan Winde's cock. And guess what? I said, he's wrong. He's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy is definitely not going to be the next president of South Africa because he's a fucking idiot. And guess what? Guess fucking what? So I guess IRR, if you need better analysts, hit me up. I'll moonlight because I'm apparently a better analyst than your best political analyst.
Yeah, but to be honest, I mean, IRR are a bit of DA fanboys.
And
it's fine.
They've lost their way.
They're allowed to be. At the end of the day, the thing with the DA as well is, I don't know, man. They're this side of the
DA
coin,
doesn't
then
have,
they're that side of the coin. They
they
don't know
don't
which
have
side
their
of the
house
coin
in
they want to
order.
be on.
They've got the Western Cape, and then they've got the rest of the DA. And if anyone is going to cause the DA to lose the Western Cape, it's going to be Alan Winde. He's just screwing the pooch without lube, non-stop, 24/7. He's just fucking it up.
Yeah,
But the
he's
DA
balls
is.
deep in that poor pooch.
But like I've said a couple of times now, the DA was never going to be our ticket out. It never was. It started as the remnants of the liberal of the Democratic Party, and then it changed names, and it was never going to be our saving grace ever. It just couldn't. It's got its ways of doing things, which is heavy, like technocrats, and that's just the way it's going. It's like the Democratic Party in the States. They're always going to be racist. It started as a racist party. It's going to die as a racist party. You're not going to change that. The cycle of people coming in and out is just too slow. And people must start realizing that the DA is not going to, even if they do come to power, they're going to be arguably worse than the ANC because they're going to do the same things, just better and more efficiently. They're just going to go Germany on our asses. That's all that's going to happen. They're not going to be our saving grace.
That is a terrifying nanny state that I do not want to live in. I could full on DA. That's a fucking terrifying nanny state. But yeah, I actually, guys, I know we've been going for a while, but I actually did have one tech topic that I wanted to bring up, and it's for our fans who actually like the whole alien discovery thing. So, do you guys know what the difference between a techno signature and a general biosignature is on a planet?
No.
Okay, so
got a sort of an idea, but yeah.
Okay, so biosignature is, well, as the name suggests, stuff to do with life. So when we do exoplanet scanning, if somebody were to look at our planet, they would see, okay, this planet has a weirdly high level of oxygen in its atmosphere, and that level of oxygen is being replenished, which means that would tell them, oh shit, there's probably some sort of living things there generating oxygen. That's what we call a biosignature. Now, a technosignature would be something like looking at a host star and you see a weird level of infrared light coming from it because they've put a bunch of Dyson swarm bots around the whole star and they're harvesting their star. Now, one of the long-lost technosignatures, which we expected to see, is what we call a heavy element star. So in nature, there are certain really, really heavy radioactive elements like technetium and americanum. Yes, there's an element called americanum. And plutonium, obviously. Now, these elements do get fused in a star sometimes, but in such trace amounts, it's almost impossible to find them. So, we said one of the technosignatures you would do as a civilization is you would produce tons of these heavy elements like plutonium, technetium, americum, whatever else. You dump it into your host star or one of the stars near you. And the reason you would do this is that it's a big sign to everybody else in the universe who understands basic maths and physics. And you're basically saying to everyone, it's basically a bragging sign and a warning sign. It's saying, hey, look at us, we understand nuclear physics. And also, it's a warning sign saying, hey, look at us, we understand nuclear physics, which means because to put that much plutonium in a star, you have to have the engineering ability to produce that much plutonium, which means you can make shit tons of nuclear weapons and other things. So it's kind of also a warning sign to people not to fuck with you. That's what we would do to the sun in case anyone were to look at our system. So we found...
How would we know someone's looking at our system?
Well, we won't. Until, like, if you're just scanning, like, it's not like the sun. But if somebody were to scan, like, do spectrometry...
So let's just say we find one of these stars.
Yes.
We are still looking back millions, if not billions of years into the past. And it could mean nothing.
Well, it would mean that somebody, because remember, these elements decay pretty fucking quickly. So you have to replenish them and in the star. But yeah, you're right. It is pretty far. But we have found one, and it's still under review because you always have to suspect natural causes or some sort of other explanation, because the last explanation should always be aliens. That's the last explanation. Like you always have to
ask the internet.
The rule in science is that the last explanation is aliens. But we did discover something, and it's discovered by some dude named Antoni Przybylski. Fuck, why do these guys have such hard surnames to him? But basically, we found one, and it's still under review for natural causes, which will take a couple of years. But if this thing stays the way it is for like the next 20 years and we can't explain it, then it means, well, technically, like Rowan said, we are looking into the past. It's about 370 light years away. So in galactic terms, that's not actually very far. It's not actually very far. It's really not. 370 light years is, it's not far. So 370 light years away. We don't know much about the planets around it, but we know that this thing has a shit ton of Americanium. I guess they call it something else in that part of the world. Plutonium and actinium and einsteinium. So it's got it, and we can't find any other stars close to it that are doing the same thing. So in the next 20 or 30 years, if it doesn't ding, then we have to conclude that at some point somebody dumped all that shit there into their star for some reason.
Or we can conclude that we think we know the universe and we actually don't, because we're not close to any fucking star or many stars that we can actually get close to enough to actually examine them properly. And it may just be a fucking normal natural thing that happens maybe in 1% of the universe.
If it were in 1% of the stars in the universe, there'd still be billions of stars with
exactly. But
no, you're right. It could be some, like I said, we still have to review that. It's some new nuclear.
I'm saying even if we review it, we still can't be certain that it didn't happen somehow from natural causes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you this. If it turns out that it's artificially, the stars artificially, the density is chased up artificially, then I think it's a very good case that we should give Elon Musk all our money so that he can get us the fuck off this planet. Because if a civilization has evolved to that point, okay, they are most likely not going to be courteous to us in any way, because that's leagues ahead of where we are.
Oh yeah,
I see it differently. I think if they are so far ahead, they're going to look at us like we look at monkeys. Like, they look pretty smart. They're useless. Yeah, they look pretty smart, but they're useless.
Let me bring up a sensitive. I'm just going to bring up a sensitive subject here. But how did we treat Harambe? I mean, that's what we do.
Too soon.
Do you want to be treated like that? Really?
Too soon.
Yeah, but I think if they're at that advanced level, they've probably seen enough in the world to know that we're probably not interesting enough for them anyway. That's my point of view. That's or at least
I don't know, dude. Dumb muscle is always needed. There's certain things that I don't know. I just don't see it ending well for us in that scenario at all.
Yeah, I just look at us like we monkeys, mate.
The other issue is, if it was artificially created and it's a warning sign, who the hell were they warning?
Yeah.
Who or what were they?
Exactly, not us.
Well, it's the same if we do it. Who are we warning? Because we don't know.
It's true.
I mean, even that star is relatively close. If you say it's only 370 light years away. That is frickin' close. But we are still looking far back, but not really far back in relative terms if you think how far back we can look. But we would do the same thing. If we did the same thing, who are we doing it for? We don't know. Right.
I mean, I would do it just to warn whatever the hell is out there, because at the end of the day, we still don't. There's a whole concept of unknown unknowns. We don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what the fuck could be out there for sure. That's why I'm not actually always a huge fan of sending signals out into space, because I'm like, we don't know what the fuck we are screaming out into.
We don't want to draw attention to ourselves. Just like shut up and sit in the corner before the bullies arrive.
Exactly.
But now,
I mean, imagine we got a ping from like someone that's responding to one of these signals. But I mean, it comes to us in like the year 3000 because the signal went so far out and came back.
I still would be suspicious of why they replied and what their true intentions are.
The funniest thing is if they replied with something that made sense to us.
That's the other thing.
That would be a scarier thing.
They have to decipher our language, and that's a whole thing.
That's what I say. That would be a scarier thing.
But if we get to the point where we can put heavier elements into our star, wouldn't that put us in a position to manipulate our star's lifespan?
Yeah.
We make it heavier, chase up the density to extend its life so that it doesn't consume our solar system as soon.
Well, I mean, you can make it heavier or you can lift it. Heavier ones die quicker, remember, because it's the pressure of the elements that crushes it. So we could actually make it lighter through magnetic star lifting. You basically put a giant...
Talk about a weapon of mass destruction. Can you imagine that technology getting into the wrong hands, like Putin just dumping a buttload of heavy elements into the sun to make it just collapse like in 10 years or something?
That's actually one of the theoretical doomsday weapons, is that you could just shoot the core of a star. You could, because there's lots of actually white dwarfs and dead star cores lying around the universe. We could just build a magnetic ring around one of them and then accelerate it into somebody else's star. And if it slams into the core of somebody else's star, it'll trigger a supernova immediately. So it was just, we could make somebody else's star go supernova by making it way too fucking heavy, and then kablooey.
See, that's why I said, like, if you take that with a bunch of technologies that we have already, scientists really just, we need culture to keep them in check. Everybody just needs to find Jesus quickly, because, like I told you the other day about that, those robots that run on the biological material that DARPA built, and the new drones that the Boston Technologies. Dude, no, we don't need that. Stop it now. You're gonna get chowed up by our own robots. This is getting out of hand, people.
I think you're a bit too concerned about AI, man. Like, I think it could be a threat. It could be a threat, but
I'm not worried about AI.
For the most
I'm worried
part,
about
what we do with AI is just teach it to do something, or do something a little bit better than us, but something like mundane, like bending a piece of steel, and that's all it'll ever know how to do.
Yeah, but see, that's the problem. I'm not scared of AI. I'm worried about who the fuck's controlling it. That's the problem, because humans are nothing but malicious if you look at history. So the problem isn't the technology itself. The problem is the people wielding it. That becomes dodgy as all hell. So I'm quite fine. We can just stick at the level we are now, stop progressing, can just chill here for a bit and just catch up. Because like we've discussed a couple of times, I mean, humans haven't even adapted to social media and the internet properly. And we've had that for what's now, 2 decades, 3 decades, and we haven't caught up with that already. And we just keep on steamrolling ahead. It's at some point it's gonna go south. It just has to. Something's got to give.
Just keep it simple, or keep it dumb, or else you end up under Skynet's thumb, as we say. But yeah, I think we reached quite a point in this episode, Oaks. I don't know if we want to close it out on any thoughts or whatever.
I don't know, mate. I hope. Well, I know in my lifetime we're not probably gonna get in contact with any of these life sources outside of our freaking solar system. So, you know, that's the next generation's worry. And I'm not having kids, so it's not my kids' worry either.
I am, though.
So that's your worries. You deal with it.
No, but that's if there's not aliens on the planets already.
Well,
That's
if they're
true.
already here, well then, we just...
Dude, we've got Nancy
People-
Pelosi, Rian Krayvagen. You've got these guys that just seem to be freaking immortal, and they look weird.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
Nancy's-
Krayvagen... Actually, Rian Krayvagen looks a lot like Nancy Pelosi. Think about it.
See what I mean?
Bro, come on.
Maybe you've got something going on there. I think,
No,
you
bruh,
might
come on.
want some.
No, they don't look this. Actually, no, wait, I just Googled it.
They do look similar. Like they could be siblings.
Oh my god. Ah, shit, bro. Now I can't unsee it. Oh, I think it's weird now. This is weird.
We'll start calling her Nancy Krayvagen.
Dude, I'm looking at pictures of them. They actually look the same. They actually look the same.
Exactly. That's what I said, Odin. Don't you believe me, mate? Jeez, like.
I didn't want to believe it. They look the same. This is horrifying. She's 80 years old, bro. 80 years fucking old.
How old is Rian
It's-
Krayvagen?
He's in the same ballpark.
Yeah, he's about 70 something. He's at least in the upper 70s.
Let me check.
Yeah.
He is
Born in
75.
45. Yeah, 75.
He's 75 at the moment.
That's
They
old,
could
dude.
be siblings. We never know.
Do you think Nancy and the husband still bone?
I don't
No,
even
dude,
wanna-
that's a bridge too far.
It's a legitimate question. Do you think Nancy and the husband still bone?
I don't know, and I don't want to know. I don't
Is
want to
the
answer
husband
it.
blind and
No,
deaf?
I don't. I don't
And
care.
if so, how do they do it without like breaking a hip or something? I just wonder.
They probably do. I saw a stat the other day that like one of the biggest outbreaks of STDs are like in old age homes and
Nursing homes, yeah.
like these retirement villages.
Really?
So you never know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was in California. Yes, the biggest outbreak of STDs ever in recorded history was in the nursing home community in California. And this
'Cause
was
they're all
like back in
boning?
the early 2000s. Yeah.
but husband
They're just like
dies,
screwing
and
like
goes, looks at
rabbits.
the neighbor,
Okay, but
they
who's
just-
introducing it into the nursing home? Let's start there.
well, someone
Oh,
introduced it.
order,
Now it's just
dude.
Like
We don't
somebody,
know.
someone was patient
Yeah.
zero.
Of course, there's always a patient zero. Well, there could have been more than one, I guess. But
You know what? I get it. Like you're 80 something. You're about to croak. You're like, fuck it. Who cares if I get genital warts? It already looks like fucking plane
I'm
crash
dying
down there.
anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Remember, how many vets and ex-military personnel are in old age homes across America that went to places like Vietnam and in
That's
the
true.
Middle East and stuff like that? And
That
do you
shit
think
comes
those
back
guys
with
are
you.
saints when they're over there? Hell
That's
no.
true. That shit comes back with you. So, yeah.
On that
yeah,
note, on that lovely note,
On that bombshell.
yeah. Let's close this one out.
gentlemen,
Uh,
thank you. It was a good session, man.
Right, and I will see you, Oaks, in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good.
Cheers, guys. Enjoy.
Thanks,
Sure.
friends. Cheers, Oaks.